All right, welcome to this episode of Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and I'm joined again by my good friend, Dan Keller. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, so, today I thought we'd talk a little bit about sales, just salesmanship, sales, what it takes to have success in a market like the one that we're in right now. We spent a lot of time this year talking about interest rates going up. And now as we kind of shift into the fourth quarter, we also see a little bit of a slowdown in real estate transactions, the number of transactions that are happening. We've seen a 85, 90% drop in refinance business. And so it's, I feel like it's really got to that point where, we've been saying all year long that the easy stuff is over. If you're going to get business right now, you're going to go out, you're going to find it, and you're going to work and fight for every deal that you get an opportunity at. There's less at-bats, and they got their, it's like to use a baseball analogy, you're playing against the closer right now. Every at-bat is so important. So I wanted to bring Dan in because Dan is one of the best, not only one of the best marketing people that I know, but one of the best salespeople. A person who really takes it seriously, what it takes to convert on opportunities. And, and Dan's someone who's been doing loans at a very high level for the last number of years. And even you, with all that you do, are not hitting the numbers that you want to reach in a market like this. So you can only imagine those loan officers out there who have been doing 4 or 5 deals a month in this market, and then all of a sudden, they're lucky if they have a deal closing, some of them, And so we're going to talk about what it takes in a market like this to be successful. And it's not just activity, but it's also your scripting and your sales process. One thing I mentioned to Dan the other day, I was listening to an interview with Robert Kiyosaki, the gentleman who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one of his quotes that just hit me that I really thought was true and hadn't really heard it before is salesmanship starts at no. So if you're talking to someone about doing a transaction with you, or if you're selling whatever you're selling and you always are hearing yes, well, then it's not really sales, is it? You're just kind of taking their order, right? You're kind of an order taker. But when you get to that first objection, when you get to that first no, that's when salesmanship really becomes important. And we had a coaching call the other day, and you were talking a little bit about this, about how quickly can you get on the phone with someone and get to the first objection, because that's when you can really navigate through that conversation and get to a meeting, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, so I think to understand the context of all of this, sales and making outbound sales calls, okay? So if you're a mortgage loan officer and you're not making outbound sales calls every single day, you're not in sales. You're not a mortgage loan officer, you're a processor. You're an order taker. And in order to compete and win in the market that we're in right now, and the market that is going to be 6 to 12 months ahead of us, you got to make sales calls. So for you out there that have really never made sales calls or never been forced to make sales calls, it's sink or swim at this point. Okay, so you're either going to need to learn it, and the good news is you can learn this. We all know the product that we sell. You just need to know how to get it in front of people, which is, in my business, it's realtors. Like, I want to get me, Dan Keller, in front of more realtors, because more realtors work with the buyers, right? Or we can go consumer direct, but even if you're going consumer direct, you're having to sell yourself to a lead or a consumer online. So either way, pick your poison.
Right.
Okay? So in order to get good or to have a better understanding of outbound sales calls, you got to be crystal clear on, I believe, 3 things. Number 1, you got to be crystal clear on your value proposition. So what makes you unique? What makes me more unique than you, Tony Blodgett, the mortgage originator? All right? So I have a value proposition that's going to be different than yours. It's going to be different than everyone else's. So figure out your value proposition. I'll give you an example. My value proposition is I care about your money. I care about your money more than any other mortgage professional that you know. I'm going to get you 3 things. Tony, if you're a realtor, Tony, I'm going to protect your commission more than any other mortgage loan officer out there. I will die on the sword. I will fall on the sword. I will literally do everything it takes to get you to escrow, to get you paid, if we're the lender on a transaction, okay? And number 2, okay, I'm your protection against your commission. Number 2, I'm going to get you paid. Number 3, I'm going to 3x your paycheck. What do you mean, Dan? How are you going to 3x my paycheck? For every deal we work on, I'm going to get you 2 in return. Okay, so we're going to do, for every deal we work on, we're going to do 3 total. Okay, so what do you mean? How are you going to do that? That's why I want to meet with you, because I want to show you how I help my agents do this. Now, I will give references to realtors that I'm going after, to my top 5 agents, and they can cold call them and say, hey, you work with Dan Keller, right? 1, is he legit? Is he real? Yes. Does he help you make more money? Yeah, he does. Okay, cool. So I'm not making this stuff up. So number 1, you got to know your value proposition. All right. Number 2, you've got to have an idea of what objections you're about to face. Do you know what objections when you're calling a realtor? What are they going to say? I can tell you, because last Monday I made 100 calls. It is actually Monday, and I'm kind of pissed we're doing this today because I still have about 19 more phone calls to make. But 100 phone calls, outbound phone calls last Monday to realtors. Today I'm going to do 75. Here's the thing. You have to make outbound sales calls to really get an understanding of what you're going to be up against. But I can tell you from making 100 last Monday and making outbound sales calls, here's what you're going to get from realtors. Dan, I don't have time. Dan, I'm not interested right now. Dan, I already have a lender. Dan, I already have a good lender. Dan, I only do listings. I mean, can you think of any others? Those are like the top 4 that I get.
I mean, those seems like the major ones, or I just don't have any clients right now that I'm working with.
Cool. Most real estate agents that I know of don't have clients they're working with. That's why we need to know each other, because I'm going to show you a few things where both you and I can go out and meet more people. So here's the thing. You have to understand your objections. You have to agree with those objections. This is the number one objection I'm getting right now, and you're going to get it too when you start calling realtors. Dan, I appreciate the call. It means a lot to me, but I already have a great lender. I already have a lender. In fact, I already have 2 or 3 lenders. Cool. So how do you respond to that? And how you respond to that, first off, how you make the call where you disable sales pressure, sales reluctance, so the consumer to be like, oh my God, it's the loan officer, he's calling me. Okay, so what do you say in the first 2 or 3 seconds that kind of helps relieve or remove some of that sales pressure? Number 2, what do you say when they object? You agree, and then you make them feel special.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so tell me I already got a lender, Dan. Say, thanks for the call, Dan, but I already have a lender.
Hey, Dan, I appreciate you calling, but I have a lender I've been working with for a long time, and he does a great job, so I don't really want to waste your time.
I totally understand that. And in fact, I know your lender that you work with right now, because this phone call was so important to me, Tony, that I actually have some AI, some information where I can pull up who you close the majority of your transactions with. And I see that you closed 7 transactions this year with Andrew Steiger. Hey, listen, Andrew is an incredible loan officer, and the call and our relationship will take nothing away from the relationship that you have with your current lender. The reason why I wanted to reach out to you, Tony, is that you're a big player in town, okay? I'm a big mortgage guy in town, top 1% nationally since 2017. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to share a couple things with you that between you and I know for a fact, because I do this with our realtors, we can drum up more business together. So I see here that your average commission is $30,000 a transaction. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I split some of that with a brokerage, but yeah, that's probably pretty close.
So 3 extra deals this coming year would be $90,000 extra dollars in your bank account. So if I can show you how I can help you do that in the next 6 to 12 months, is it worth a 20, 30-minute coffee meeting with me?
I mean, yeah, I guess it would be.
Cool. Now, I got to ask you real quick, have you ever had a conversation with a mortgage lender about your commissions and about helping you make more money?
Most of them don't bring that up.
Correct. Okay, so there you go. So that's why it's my value proposition, because most mortgage lenders aren't concerned with your money. What are they concerned with?
Their money.
Their money, getting referrals from them. So guys, it's about your sales process, making it all about them. It could be their marketing. I'm telling you what, if someone comes to me, if an insurance agent came to me and said, hey, Dan, I can help protect you so that if something bad were to happen, you wouldn't have to pay out, but I could also help you make more money this year to the tune of $80,000 or $100,000, I would at least go have coffee with them. I'd be curious. Okay?
So what if you're a new loan officer?
Cool. So new loan officer, you got to be hungry. You got to be tenacious. I was a new loan officer once, and I just called realtors. My value proposition back then wasn't money. I wish it would have been. So the only thing that you would change if you're a new loan officer would be, I haven't been a top 1% mortgage lender since 2017. So I coach new loan officers. attach yourself to my team. I work with the number one team in Snohomish County, top 1% team in America. Okay, so you can, if you need to name drop for credibility, but you just have to be tenacious and persistent. If you were a brand new insurance agent and you called me every Friday and with the same value proposition, sooner than later I'm gonna be like, this guy's good. He really wants my business. I'll give you 15 minutes for coffee, Tony.
Right. So when you're making outbound calls, and you make a lot of them, and I hear you, we're in the same hallway, and you're calling 75 people today. You called 100 people last Monday. What's the goal of the call?
Awesome.
Let's talk specifically about the goal of the call.
So that was number 3. So number 3. So let's recap. You got to have a value proposition. So you got to know your value, and you got to believe that you're more valuable than their time. Let me say that again. You have to believe down deep that you're more valuable than a half hour of their time. You can help bring them money. Number 2, you have to know the objections. Number 3, you have to have a go-to conversation. So before I set out to make all these phone calls, I have a go-to conversation. We coached on this. We've coached the NAF loan officers on this. That could be inviting them to an event. That could be a loan product. That could be an update. Hey, why isn't everyone right now calling realtors going, hey, the FHFA just announced that they're raising our max conforming loan limits by a lot. Like, you could literally buy over $1 million home with 5% down in 2023 and still qualify as conventional in Seattle. Big news. That's not the big news. Here's the big news, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor. Do you believe that the FHFA doing this is good or bad for real estate? Is good or bad for the housing market? Good. Do you know why? I don't know why. So being able to ask questions is big too in sales. They wouldn't raise the max conforming loan limits if they didn't believe the real estate market was going to be
higher
next year, right? So, I mean, having conversations with them about that. Would you like information on this? Would you like to come in and create some video content around this to send out to your clients? Like, so you got to have a go-to conversation. My go-to conversation last Monday, you witnessed it on Friday, was a lunch and learn event. I had 26 real estate agents on Friday show up to listen to me talk about how to do Zoom like a pro. So that was my go-to conversation. My go-to conversation today is 2 things. I'm doing a business planning retreat on November 16th. So I'm inviting them all to that. How to goal set like an Olympian, like an Olympic athlete, and business plan like a billionaire. Would you want to come to that, Tony?
I think I want to come to
it. Okay, you'll probably
when
be
is
there.
it? I'll be there.
So it's on the 16th.
Yeah.
So that's my go-to conversation. So pick a topic. That's your call. And by the 8th or 10th phone call, you should hear me. My script's even getting better. My conversations are getting better about the event or about the invite.
So really, the goal of the call is to schedule a meeting with them one-on-one, go have coffee, 15 minutes, stop by their office, whatever, or invite them to an event that you're hosting.
Icebreaker. Yep. So I want to meet you. So the end of that phone call, the end of that cold call, when they're like, no, I haven't had a loan officer. Great. Tony, at this point, I just want to meet you. You need to know me. I need to know you. We're going to do business together. I promise you, man. Our paths are going to cross. Well, they actually did back in 2016. I wasn't good enough to call you back then, Tony. So I'm just going to be honest with you. We're great. We do a great job. I just want to shake your hand. I want to meet you. So when are you normally in your office? Tuesdays and Thursdays. Cool. Which day doesn't work best for you? Which day is best for you? However you want to say it.
Right.
And then I'm going to bring a coffee by. What's your favorite energy drink? I'm going to bring it by. So that's number 1. Number 2, get them to come to an event. We're trying to meet them. We're trying to get belly to belly, something that we haven't done for the last 3 years because of, the virus. So,
well, I love how you're, that confidence that you exude. Like, look, I know we're going to work together. We haven't yet, but we're going to. That's my goal. We need to meet. I love that. You just go back and listen to that. Listen to the tone in Dan's voice. And I hear him on the phone all the time. This is how he talks to people. And it does make a difference, And here's the other question. So events, I've never done events. Like, invite them to an event. What do you mean invite them to an event? I mean, you're always doing events. So new loan officer, what do I do to get started doing events?
So again, value proposition. There was a time where I didn't know how to do events. I didn't know how to public speak. You've witnessed me investing into my career, like hiring Renee Rodriguez and going to Amplifies and just practicing doing them. If they were recorded back in 2008 to 2011 when I was doing lunch and learns at realtor offices, I wouldn't want to watch them, just like I don't like watching the videos that I did back then. Here's the thing. Who cares? Like, you're going to get better. You know that. So you just got to start now. And I'm telling you, events is a great way to show. So how I started my Lunch and Learn on Friday was like, I'm so excited that you all are here. The main reason why I'm doing this is I just wanted to sit down and have a couple street tacos with some of my favorite people. I really like every single one of you guys in this room. So again, if you lead with that you're here to help, that I just wanted to connect with you, that's big, and that's your event. You could just throw a round table.
Well, a round table, or even bring in a guest speaker, right?
A guest speak. You don't have to do the speaking. Hey, I just wanted to introduce Tony today. He's been in the mortgage industry for 30 years, and he is the smartest mortgage man I know in Seattle, and he's going to talk about the state of the market. And you could advertise. You could go get, Mike Appleby with Chicago Title. You can go get any of these guys to come out and help you, so you don't have to be the keynote.
Yeah, reach out to your title company. They have a lot of good ideas. Your MI reps, there's people out there that do speaking on behalf of these other organizations.
Underwriters, appraisers, wine tasting, tequila tasting. Do an event. It's all about connecting with the group of people.
Yeah, I remember the first few events I did were the events that I sat in on someone else's event. So, find someone like a DK to go, hey, can I just come to your event and be a wallflower in the back and just look, just watch and listen and get that level of confidence and realize it's not that difficult.
No, and if you're watching this and you're not with, and this is a short plug real quick for your region at New American Funding, and I'm a part of that, every single event that I do is an open door for all of our loan officers to attend and learn from. I mean, Tina's been, 3 of them were there this last weekend. The other thing is we teach this at New American Funding. Like, we teach you how to throw an event. We teach you how to public speak and stuff like this. So, quick plug. But.
Well, and even if you don't work here, I mean, Dan's constantly teaching people on the mortgage coach community, and you're sharing this stuff all over the place. One thing that Dan said before we jumped in here was just go make 10 phone calls. Just go make 10 cold calls. And what you're going to realize is that the fear that you have of making the cold call is a whole lot more than the actual fear from having the call.
Yeah, I sent a quote out the other day to all of our loan officers, and I said, the fear of rejection is greater than the actual fear of getting told no itself, or the fear of a realtor going, no, I'm not interested, click, cool. It's the fear of rejection.
Have they ever done that? Just like,
I've had, honestly, in 5 years, I've maybe had 1 or 2. I can't even really remember them, because I just laughed, and I'm like, dude, whatever. And then you move on to the next one. I do get a lot of, no, I'm good. I'm really good right now. And, I'm just not interested in making a change. So, hey, you want to wrap up with that one? Let's say I handled the objection really good, like I just did a moment ago. And I talked about helping you make an extra $90,000. And let's just say it's bad timing, or they're just super ignorant. And they're just like, you know what, Dan, I get that. Honestly, I don't really believe that you can do that. But I'm just not willing to make a change. I'm just not ready right now. Okay. So Tony just shut me down on the second objection. And I'm going to say, Tony, I totally understand this. Listen, I've never been told yes over the phone, so I didn't expect you to say yes. Here's what I am going to do. I know that our relationship is way too valuable for me to never call you back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call you next week on Monday, and I'm going to check in until it's the right opportunity. Okay? All right. Talk to you later. Bye. And I hang up. I control it now. Yep. So when I do get, and guys, this doesn't happen often, but when it does, Grant Cardone said it the best. I think he said a long time ago, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail on my terms.
Right, exactly.
If I'm going to get told no, I'm going to get told no on my terms, which I totally didn't expect you to say yes. So again, you're honoring them. Yeah. You're not pissing them off. That brings down the walls of resistance, right?
Well, here's the thing. So as you can tell, we're having kind of a fun conversation about sales calls, calling, getting rejected, scripting, overcoming objections, and what happens if they hang up on you. The reason why we're having this is because, you guys, I don't know how to emphasize this more than we already have, is like, this is what you have to be doing right now in your business to have any level of success. The phone is not just going to ring. It's just not.
Stopped. It stopped 6 months ago, Tony.
And the phone has stopped ringing, and you have to go make it ring. And it's not that there's no transactions out there, but also think about it this way: if you're a realtor watching this, put it in the comments. You let us know. But when there's less transactions, you're less likely to try to drive that bus to a lender that you just don't want to rock the boat. They're pre-approved. You just want to get them in your car and get them under contract because you just don't want to be too pushy. You don't want to accidentally refer them to someone who's not going to do a great job. So when there just becomes this scarcity mindset and the referrals happen less often, unless you're reminding people that not only am I a great person to refer them to, but the number one thing I'm thinking about is making sure you get paid. You know, and so I love how you tie it back to that. That's always been a great script. Look, for those of you watching this, you know, I'm assuming most of you are in the mortgage business. And if you are, then you're probably going through, you know, a difficult market. Some of you are probably kicking butt in this market. And if you are, my guess is you're doing the exact things that Dan and I are talking about. Because we see people having success, but they're the people that are willing to work. And I think that it all comes down to getting on the phones, making those calls, and then using those calls to get those meetings, or better yet, invite people to an event, host events, you know, give them knowledge, give them information, give them an opportunity to mastermind. I think that it's very valuable right now, and it's what is going to work. So, Dan, thanks for coming and sharing your knowledge as always. It's inspiring to see you, you know, just in your element saying, hey, I'm doing this stuff too. That's why I love having you on here because, you know, I can sit here and talk about it, but you're literally down the hallway. You got 18, 19 more calls to make. So I better let you get back to doing that.
I'm pissed off with my numbers, and we're all in this thing together. And the only way out of this, man, is you got to grab the shovel and you got to dig. The only way out of this, you got to make sales calls. Pound the stone, baby.
Pound the stone.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for taking your time again to watch this episode of Market Shares. And we always try to mix it up. I hope that you got a nugget from this or some inspiration from this because it's what it's going to take, you know. And if this inspired you to pick up the phone and make those 10 calls, or like Keller's doing, make 100 calls, let us know down below. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about this podcast, and we're going to keep them dropping every Friday. Until next time, bye for now.